Hey, hello. Sunday again, and it's Python Zero to Hero. So let's learn some Python today. And yeah, I've just restarted my computer that I used to monitor the chat and other stuff. So it's a bit stressful because it died like kind of 5 minutes before, 3 minutes before actually it start. But yeah, now it's back back up live, and you can actually type things in the chat, and I will be able to see it. So I totally really welcome that if you could join me in the chat, kind of ask me questions. I love having interaction with viewers. So if you could stop me anytime, ask questions, or sometimes like just say hi. That would be great. Just be nice to people, and that's all I want. And today we're gonna learn some linting. It's June, and it's very nice summer, and also it's our testing month. I think last week we covered some property-based testing. Today we're gonna learn something like different, and like have going back to a little bit like basic, that is linting. So linting usually I would consider part of testing because like usually you would do this linting thing when you finish writing your code before you run the test, or sometimes after you run the test you would do this. So sometimes before you push your work and commit it to GitHub, then or GitLab, then you would do this. So I'll go into details in a bit. So let's get started. Should I give you a self-introduction? Because I haven't done it for a while, so maybe I'll give a quick self-introduction just to kind of remind you who I am, and like for people who just discover my program. So I'm Chuck, and I love open source. I work full time in an open source project. Terminus DB is an open source graph database that do things like Git. So the other thing I like is Git. Yeah. I think I would have a chance to talk more about it some other day, but not today. Today we're learning Python, and I also organize some other workshops and sprints. I organize conferences so this year, of course, like most conference, virtual conference. So I organize conferences. And also, during conference, I think for people who are new to Python, I would totally recommend you to try to join some conference. Especially this year, everything is virtual. It's relatively cheaper, but it's good to be a good way to be start to engaging with the community and learn more Python. Because of that, I learn a lot of Python because I go to a lot of conference, and the community teach me a lot of things, whether it's like in a form of like this, streaming. I love watching Naomi streaming. It's on Friday. I think if you're interested, follow her on Twitter, and she would post the update news of when she'll be live. And also like conferences that you learn from the talks, and also go to the sprints. So what is a sprint? Sprint is contributing to open source, and you learn a lot of things because you could be a guided manner. You'll be like writing Python code that actually people will actually use it. So it's a production code. I would totally recommend that. Um, I think that's enough for that. And let's jump into our Python topic today. So and to recap what we have learned so far, I think it has been a kind of a journey now. We started like as zero, because this is Python zero to hero. We started as like we assuming we know nothing, okay, and then we just started downloading Python and learning all this stuff about Python. It's kind of like in a fast-paced manner. I still think it's a bit fast because I'm trying to squeeze my past few years experience of Python into into a kind of weekly programs in like now it's maybe 2 or 3 months in. So it's like really concentrated content there. But like I said, when if you're new to Python, go to more be engaged with the community. That's the best way to learn. And through time, when engage with more activity with the community, then you will learn a lot. Watching my program is one of the way, and I don't say it's the only way. So explore. I would recommend you to explore and learn more Python. That's actually why I'm doing this. I really want more people to learn Python and found it useful in their work, or even just for fun. Making some fun projects. That's great. Um, so we have learned a lot of stuff. So this month, like I said, we focus on testing. So last week we learned some property-based testing. I think it's kind of something still not very popular, but kind of quite useful. If you have, there are some cases like I mentioned some example last week. So if you want to know, the video is available either on my website, my personal website, or is actually still on Twitch, so you can go and check that out. Okay. So, is there any other questions that regarding all those topics that we cover? I always open this time when I started, let like people can bring up questions regarding things that we have covered before, that I could maybe, if you want to recap, a quick recap, or if you have something you're not sure, let me know. I would try to spend a little bit of time at the beginning to kind of do a revision of like what happened before, and also I just recently realized that I never talk about lambda function. Like, how come, like, when I talk about function I forgot it? So I would find a place to slide that back in, or if someone asks a question about lambda function, that would be great, then I got a chance to talk about it. And yeah, I don't know why I overlooked that. I just, like, sometimes when you use it naturally and you forgot that you have to learn it like at some point, and I totally overlooked that. So sorry about that. I think I talked too much about other stuff related to function. I forgot about lambda function. Um, so yeah, I hope you have questions. If not now, then you can also ask me on Twitter, and you may actually find me on other conference. And EuroPython is coming in July, and I'm going there. So if you want to join EuroPython, that's great. It's not just me. There'll be amazing people there. The creator of Python, Guido, will be one of the keynote speaker. So so if you go there, you'll meet a lot of you meet a lot of great people. So I'll be there as well. But yeah, send me a message at Twitter at any time. I'm happy to answer it, and any any questions that I could answer, or I can divert it to a person that I know could answer that question. Okay. So okay, so today we're going to talk about linting. So what is linting? Okay, so assuming, because again, this is a Python zero to hero, so if I haven't covered it, I'll assume that you may not know it. I'm sure that if you have some programming background, you will come across linting maybe for another language before, or maybe not, like, well, because when I started Python I have some programming language before, but that's mostly for scientific programming, so it's not necessary, like, linting is not one of the thing that is used that much in scientific programming, unfortunately. But it's a good thing, because so linting started at, like, it's actually, well, it's a term that kind of get made up when there's actually a Unix utility that actually, I think it's called lint or something like that. Then it's like Google, right? Now it become a verb, like googling become a verb, like become a verb. So yeah, lint and linting, and, like, it's from a product that is widely used, and it become a term for doing a specific task. So this a task that the linting or linter do is that is is actually linter is a tool that analyze your code, and then if it sees something that is fishy, that it could create an error, then it would kind of warn you about it. It could do more than that as well. So well, you may say that, oh, if I run the test, then I could, of course I could find any errors and solve it. But well, writing a test is first of all not, you have to spend effort to write a test. That's why we covered so many, like, teaching how to write tests for this month, because actually writing a test is not a very trivial task. Sometimes I think you have to spend as much time as coding when you're doing testing. So yeah, testing is, first of all, it's not that easy. But linter, you just need to install it and just check all the syntax. It's like like your a grammarly check your English or check your language, that your natural language that you write. It just check whether the syntax is correct. So it doesn't do the things that testing does, because testing is like you can test your logic, whether the logic of your program works. But linting just check whether there could be a syntax error and warned you about that in advance. So that's why, like, sometimes when you do, like, when you finish your code, before you commit it and push it to to make it public, you would run the linting and testing. Okay. And also linting would also look for well, I would actually cover that in a bit. So So yeah, linting sometimes also help you to improve the readability of your code. But I'll explain a little bit more in the next slide. And so this explanation is from Wikipedia. If you're interested, go look for it on Wikipedia about linting or lint or linter. That's actually I think that's what the article, the title is. So yeah, so I just copied from there, and you can read it if you are interested to know more. Um, so why linting? So this is like the topic that like before we kind of dive into writing tests. So why we need to do that, right? So why someone need to create a linter to do stuff? Like why I have to run an extra comment, uh, before I commit my code. So first of all, to avoid error, because well, why you're like, well, my experience of using linting is that because I am a horrible person at the keyboard, so I made a lot of spelling mistakes and typos. So yeah, if you use a linter, then you could, avoid a lot of those mistakes by, you would check that, oh, what, like this variable is like it doesn't exist before. So what do you mean? So actually it's a typo. I misspelled it, so that's why it doesn't exist. So you won't be able to catch it if you don't lint it, and like when you run your code, there will be an execution error because this variable is not declared. So yeah, you can still solve that problem, but like linting could just like, rather than you kind of, oh, error, I solved it, and run again, error, I solved it. If you have a big chunk of code, I would just like check everything for you and give you a list of report, and then you could just go through them without like running it again and again, which costs time. So that's good. So I like doing that before running the test. So make sure that those very silly mistakes could be solved like before I check the logic of my program. Okay. So also, it keep the consistent code format. Actually, that's more applied to auto formatter than linter. I kind of blurring the definition of two a little bit here because I usually do them together, and actually like so I would introduce you to the tool today, but actually yeah, so it is kind of it's also help you to keep a consistent code format, and it increase the readability of your code because so yeah, for auto formatter it kind of, for example, Python, that we have pep8, like you have heard me mentioning it like multiple times. So what is pep8? So what is a pep? First of all, is I think it's a Python enhancement proposal, if I remember correctly. I'm By the way, I'm bad with names. If you're new viewers, I'm very bad with names. I always remember the term, but I don't know the full name. So sometimes people help me out by typing in the chat that like, oh, actually it means this, and they're like, okay, thank you so much. So yeah, you could help me out by that. So PAB is actually the community would have proposal of like, hey, I think that how we gotta use Python. So it's like proposal of how people should use Python. So it's not as strict as like putting it in the syntax of C Python, let's say, like, but it's more like a agreement of how the community is gonna go with this standard, follow this standard to use Python. So for example, the most famous one, PAP8, actually include a lot of format, like how you should format your code. Like for example, like let's say if you write a class, so after class, so for each class you separate two by two empty lines, two blank lines. But within your class, and then each method is actually separate by just one line. So those are like tiny little stuff, and no white space at the end, and also four tabs and all this stuff. I'm not so sure. I have to like go back and check PAP8. Like, but once you have some experience using Python, then it actually very natural to you. So sometimes when I read code, do some code review, I'll be like, oh, that's hurting my eyes because it's obviously not following PAP8. It's definitely not in the style of writing Python, and I'll be like, that's look a bit odd, out of place. And I don't know, people always think that Pythonista is a little bit OCD, but that's because we have all these like wonderful pap kind of have an agreement of how the code should be styled, and keep a consistency when people contribute to open source projects, because you need this standard. So it's not like people contribute, but maybe sometimes you never match a contributor. So you want to keep the format in a consistent way. So it looks like a very unified. It looks like just one person's writing it, but actually not. There may be like hundreds or thousands if it's a super big project like Pandas, like thousands of people contribute, and but it still look very easy to look at. It looks very consistent. Looks like one person's writing it, but it's not. Okay. So another thing is that it would automatically achieve 1 and 2. So yeah, like I said, like I could actually spot some kind of things that doesn't follow PEP 8 and change it, right? But I could overlook things, and if I have to read, if you got like a multiple file and each file got like more than 1,000 lines of code, it would take me forever to correct it. So having a linter, it would just help you to finish 1 and 2, and so you don't have to do that. Hey, hello. So yes, hi. Dem- oh yeah, Dimitri. Yeah, Dimitri, my colleague, right? Yeah. Hello. Welcome to watch my program. So yeah, I'm talking about linting today, and yeah. So and yeah. Oh, so welcome. Yeah. So maybe I have seen you during one of the conference. Sometimes we have Zoom conference, and because now everybody works from home, so sometimes family member will make a debut. So maybe I've met you, maybe not. So but now you see me, so I'm here. Okay. So yes, and the last thing that linter could do is to save time in code review. So, like I said, I could totally do 1 and 2 just by looking at the code. I could, just check whether something hurt my eyes, and I changed it. But I want to save time. I want to just give me a report which line is wrong or which file there's something wrong in there. I just go there and tackle it rather than looking at everything. Every time if someone makes some changes and I want to review it, I have to look through all of them. So that's good. And yeah, so today I'm gonna introduce you to actually four linter or auto formatter. So like I said, I have blurring both because I sometimes like do both of them at the same time. So yeah, so I have blurring the terms a little bit, and but also after that, or after those four tools that I introduce you, I will also introduce you with talks and pre-commit. So what are those things? So those things usually you would, you know, use together with your linter and auto formatter because like you may be like me, you run all of them, you may want to run all of them, before you push your code. So you want to check off them, and the best way to do that is to put it in a single command that you just like run off them. So both can do it for you. So pre-commit is that it's a commit hook that you can actually automatically do that before you push your code. So make sure that you can't be lazy. You can't just push whatever you want. You have to check it beforehand. So I would give you a detailed explanation afterwards. So we have 6 things to cover today. So like now it's like buckle up and it's time to journey through all these 6 tools that I'm gonna introduce you. So first of all is Flake 8. I think it's one of the most popular one. Most people heard about it before. And also you may heard about PyFlake. So actually Flake 8 use it's use Flake PyFlake, and also it use other tools. But to be honest, I don't care that much about what it use underneath. I use Flake 8 because it's very powerful. I hope that I could show you. I would just see if I could go to my coding tutorials, and oh, why my coding thing is not appearing? Okay, now it's here. Okay, good. So I have a example code here. So let me, okay, actually I got quite a lot of stuff here. Let me close off them and start from scratch. Okay, so I have a code here. So I want to do is I want to do some check on it, right? So you can see that in the slides there, we have to first install our FlakeH linter. So actually like all of the tools while I'm preparing all of the tools today is super easy to install. You just do a pip install. So I just do a pip install. Oh, by the way, I put it in the slides is python-m pip install. So actually python-m is it's a recommended way because you would always use the same Python as the same you know the same pip that go with the same Python, because some people have multiple versions of Python, and if you don't manage your virtual environment well, so sometimes it will cause you some problem because the thing you pip install is not matching. It's kind of from a different version of Python that you think you're using. So yeah, it just it just doesn't when you try to use it. Well, why I can't import it? I have pip install it because it installed for the other Python rather than the one that you're using. So just to be sure, you can always do python-m pip install. So that make sure that this install would be applying to the Python that you're currently using. But because you can see that I used virtual env, so I'm putting everything in my environment called Python tutorial. So I would just do a pip install. So it's actually the same in a lot of in a lot of situation, but sometimes it may be different because of that. So I think I'm missing a space here. Sorry about that. And yeah, so it's installing. So after install, so actually it's very easy to use flag A because all you need to do is to type. Actually, like you can just type flag 8, and I don't know why my my coding things keep disappearing. It's starting to get strange here. So let's see if we can do some linting on this file. So let's see if I could enter that folder first of all. Uh, yeah, so today's date. I always put the dates there so I can organize a little bit, and it's examples. Okay, so let's try to do flake to see, yeah, flake 8 select something. So I could do the select thing, but I'm showing you that because um, so what it does is actually this command is that is running flake 8 and check only E123. So E123 is a code. You can check it from the flake 8 documentation that which which uh, what it is checking actually. So uh, you you can disable some checks. You can enable some check with this code. So but now I just like gotta go with the default to see what happened. And yeah, so you can see that I got some error warning here already. So yeah, E302 actually is a quite common one. I've seen it quite a lot of times. So it's yeah, expecting two blank line, but only found one. So like I said, so between different classes, or actually before and after your class, it should be separated by two blank lines, and I am missing one. So this is telling me that I have to fix that. And I have a blog comment that actually should start with this. So yeah, so you can see this. Actually, can I make it bigger? I hope it's big enough for you to see. So yeah, you can see I have a problem here. So it's saying that I think this is here. Yeah, I should have two blank line here. I think this is what it's saying here. And yeah, so, oh, actually at the beginning as well. Yeah, so before and after the class, I should have two blank lines, but I didn't. So let's save that. Okay, so we have checked everything here. So there's a lot of warnings. So because this is such a small code, it's just like it's less than 50 lines. So that's why it only got those. Actually, it's more than 50 lines, but less than 100 lines. So it's like very small. Imagine you have 3,000 lines, then you get a lot. And so one thing you could do is to use the select to maybe I just want to check the lines whether I separate them correctly. So you could do a flake, flake 8 select, and then this one. Yeah, then it will only check that, and you can see that I fix it, so I have no warning. But if I undo my fix, let's say undo my fix, and you see that it will shout at me. Yeah, so it's like two blank lines. No, you don't only have one. That's bad. So yeah, I should really separate it correctly. So um, yeah, so some of them, some of the let's run the universal one again. So yeah, so some of these ones you want to maybe disable them. For example, line too long, maybe I don't really care, even though like I should really be less than 30 characters. Or maybe you can set what's the maximum limit of the characters in a line. You can do that. There's a way to configure flag 8, and it's actually here in the slice that so you can actually make let me make it this bigger so you can see. Yeah, so actually yeah, you can have a file there to control it. You can have a .flake8 file there to 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 have this configuration store in a file, and also you can put it in your talks in. Uh, so just briefly go through. So if you are setting up a project that you package and upload to PyPI, usually you would have this setup.config. And but otherwise, if you're using talks, which I'll introduce you in a bit, then you have this talks in it. Or you can just make a file called .flag8 and put this here. So it started with a square bracket flag8, and then inside there's, well, you can check the documentation there to see what options they give you. So usually you would care about these first two. So the fourth one, I don't even like use it that much. So sometimes you want to switch off some warnings, so you would be ignore those. You'll be like, yeah, I know it's a little bit bad, but that's okay for my project. I can tolerate that, so you can put it there to ignore that. Um, Also exclude. So sometimes you have some files that is an intermediate file, or like some you know sometimes this is quite common, the doc files that because the this is actually, I know what it is. This is like the config file for Spanx. So so those files, so I haven't talked about Spanx yet, but maybe in the future when I talk about Spanx, you'll see those config file actually is a little bit strange. It's not your normal Python file, but it's still a Python file, but it's a little bit strange. So you want Flake8 to ignore it, because otherwise you get millions of warnings, which is necessary. Doesn't really affect the readability of your code, because everybody writes a Spanx config that way anyway, so you don't have to care about standardizing it. And sometimes you ignore the py caches. So there's some intermediate files that you don't want to check, because they're just intermediate file. You won't basically, you put that in your git ignore anyway, so you won't actually publish that code anyway. So ignore those. And of course .git is supposed to ignore that. And other stuff that you think that is you shouldn't, it shouldn't be linting, so you put it there. So exclude those files, or like the whole directory. Actually, some of these build is just a directory, all these internal directories, you can disable them. So yeah, I think I won't go over them. You can check the documentation, or if you have contribute to an open source, you will come across those. So I'm just kind of giving you an idea what it is when you see them, when you start contributing. And so you won't be like scared of like, oh, why is like that. So what is this for? So, well, actually that's the linter. And okay, so yeah, I have to go a little bit quicker, because there's, like I said, there's so many things to cover, and all of them are kind of quite straightforward. So I would just go like faster than normal. I won't explain too much in detail. They are tools that you gotta use when before you publish your code. So yeah. Mm. And so there's another thing. It's like the name is similar. It's called autoflake. So so Flake8 check a lot of things for you. Most of them is like whether you follow PEP8. Autoflake, actually it would remove some of your unused imports and unused variables for you. It would also um, yeah, kind of auto format your import statement. So, but take it with a grain of salt, because sometimes it would do things that you have to one example is like recent example is that I use fixture in the test, and I kind of import the file. I don't know why like I have to import it, because according to PyTest I shouldn't importing it. But anyway, you're running some test, you import something that actually you're using it. But Autoflake decided that, oh, I don't see that, because running PyTest is a little bit different from a normal Python code. So it's not explicit that I'm using that fixture, but actually I've imported and I need that fixture. Otherwise my test will be broken. But Autoflake, look at it as if it's a normal Python file, and it's like, well, it seems like you're not using that file contain a fixture, and it removes it for me, and it breaks my test. So I will also show you how to stop Autoflake doing those things. But Yeah, but be careful that sometimes auto removal is a bit dangerous, and also unused variable removal is disabled by default, because that's also again is something very dangerous. I'd rather you remove those manually from Flakeage. That use Flakeage to check. Flakeage would tell you that well, it's a unused variable, and you just go there and remove it, rather than automatically do it, because it's dangerous. Because it may be the other way around, right? Because like you may have that variable, actually you forgot to use it, or like you use a wrong variable, so it's just, it looks like you have never used it, but actually you should be using it. Then automatically removed it could give you a nightmare afterwards when you review your code again. So again, installation is quite straightforward. You just do a pip install autoflake. Yeah. So like I said, this environment is only for the tutorial, so I don't have this in this environment. That's totally fine. So let me switch back to the code, and so you'll be able to see. So yeah, I've just installed autoflake. So let's do something with our code here. So RE, I'm using that in the checking of our email, right? So yeah, so what I gotta do is that I gotta import something that is not used. So like for example, copy or import math. I'm not using, at least not now. So let's see if autoflake would remove that for me. Okay. So and yeah, so what you gotta do, I think I haven't put it here. What you gotta run it is just autoflake, or maybe let me double check actually, because I'm not so sure. And my code keeps disappearing, and this is super annoying. I don't know why it wasn't like this before. So yeah, sometimes OBS behave like in a very unexpected way, and I have no ideas. So far, it's one of my favorite tool, but sometimes it can be a little bit strange. Maybe because I'm using a Mac, I don't know. So yeah, so you just do autoflake, and you can do a in place, and yeah, so I don't want to remove unused variables, so I just do an in place, so it would change my file. So let me go to my terminal here, and autoflake in place, and then put the name of my file, which is eShop. And okay, so let's look at the code. Yes, it got removed. You see that here it got removed, the mess that I've been making before. And this is basically what autoflake do. Another thing is that, like I said before, if you're running some test and you don't want it to be removed, you don't want like, please autoflake, don't touch it. So you have to put no QA there. And no QA will stop autoflake removing it. So let's try again to see. Let's put copy back, but without the no QA. So let's see. What we want is like, we want to keep math but remove copy. So let's see if it works. So let's do it autoflake in place again, and yes, it kept the math there and removed copy. So yeah, so it works just like what you want to. So it's a tiny little tool, but it's convenient. And yeah, it's one of the linter that you may consider putting it in your in your suits, that you do the test and then linting and all this. So you may use autoflake as well. This is very straightforward. Okay, so the next one, moved on. Black. Okay, black is another popular one. So let's go back to the slice here. So let's make it bigger. So black is kind of like a new thing. It's like only appearing like in the recent years. I remember like when it first got published, and then there's like a lot of talk about it in conferences, and because I think it's created by a bunch of C Python core developers, so they actually like they kept promoted like crazy, and it suddenly got like it's like celebrity at the time, celebrity library at the time, because sorry, I put a lot of text here. I just get it from their documentation. But actually, what black is an uncompromising code format, as they put themselves. So so it would just look at your code and format it. So an example of what it would do is that, for example, those lines that I talk about, there should be two lines, shouldn't be one line. It will fix it for you. If you have some white space at the end, it will will remove it for you. Sometimes, if your line is too long, because like I had that warning before, right, from Flake Age that my line is too long. So black will actually break the line for you. Black is very smart. It knows that how to break it in a way that it still the syntax still follows, because breaking a line in Python is sometimes could be a little bit hectic because Python, the indentation and like all these counts, it's not like JavaScript. You just put things in a curly bracket, it will consider as the same as one. So but black would actually help you to break your line in a way that is still syntactically correct and doesn't change your logic. So it's really helpful. It's a formatter, so which means that it doesn't check anything actually. It won't even warn you about it. It actually doesn't give you an option. So compared to Flake H, you can switch something off. Um, so black doesn't give you the option. Black just like check all your code and format it for you according to its standard. So what standard you ask, you can actually check the documentation. So you can see here, yeah, they also have a documentation site that like is linked somewhere. You can play around with it as well. So yeah, you can see maintainer, like some of them are like very famous people in the Python community, and so yeah, you can see that yeah, you don't have I think there's a section there it says it don't have yet. Or it's a beta product because it's quite new, and yeah, it says that it's non-configurable, so you can't change the style of it. There's only one and only one style, that is the black style, and when you run black, you gotta format it its way. So it's try to it's a strict subset of PEP8. So what is following, yeah, is also if you run your black, so actually it kind of solve a lot of the warnings from Flake H, because Flake H use this Python style to check, but black try to follow this to reformat your code. So yeah, so you can save some of your manual work running Flake H if you run black before it, and yeah, I have to do some jobs for you. And you can see that it's kind of like, for example, this is horrible because this is too short. So it's the other way around, right? Sometimes you're too long, you want to make it shorter, but this time this is too short, and you shouldn't break it into lines, and it will just help you to fix that. And yeah, sometimes if it's like too long, then you should break it into two lines. It will just help you to break it. Um, yeah, also like this is like, yeah, if you kind of you have write some code in Python, this is a nightmare. This is super long. You have too many arguments there, and it's just like having to break it, and it's super cool. And um, yeah, the line length is the standard. By the way, the standard line length of Python is 80. So black will stick with 80, right? So yeah, but you can actually like config that by passing in an argument yourself. And yeah, so yeah, you can have a configuration in FlakeH to do that as well, to change the line length from the default 80 to something else. And yeah, so you can read all these, like, to see what is the black style that it is enforcing. For me, I don't I well, I only want my code to look consistent and look good, so I don't care too much that I can't really custom my black, because I'm happy with the default. I'm happy with what they guide me to. So that's good. But occasionally you may want to, for example, this 1, 2, 3. Um, Sometimes a good example would be if you're doing scientific programming, that you have an array and you want to keep the form of an array. So but this is fine because it's only one dimensional. But if you have two-dimensional array, so you don't want it to be auto formatted, you want to keep the, like, maybe it's a 2 by 2, then you want to keep it like a square, so you don't want it to be put in one line or something like that. Then you can actually turn black off by using this FMT off and FMT on. So yeah, see if we can do a little bit of trying of that as well. So yeah, it's not. So again, installation is super simple. Just pip install it, and yeah. I also find it funny that they choose the name black, and well, first of all, like why a color and why black? I think it's like they tell you here that yeah, any color you like. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe like I should really watch some of the talk that the maintainers, the creator, will explain it to me. So um yeah, it's like surprisingly taking a bit longer to install, but okay, it's done now. So let's see if we can um format this code. So I'm sure that it would do some formatting for me because I have something that is too long. So let's have a look at how it is now. Okay, and we can do a formatting. Okay, so you kind of have an idea how this look like at the moment. So let's do some formatting to see. So I'm sure this one will be broken into separate lines for sure. So yeah, so let's do uh, black and oop, eShop is not example. Okay, yeah, right. All done. One file reformatted. So have a look at the yeah, you can see that this is yeah, not this one though, actually. And so it's formatted. So what have you changed? Black, tell me. What have you changed? I should actually like really yeah, so what I gotta do is like, okay, I go back, okay, and save that. I would do some messed up here. So maybe yeah, I think this one it changed, right? So yeah, I'm sure that they changed it here at, I think, yeah, it was there. Okay. So okay, what I gotta do is that my git is a little bit, yeah, so I think you'll be able to see because like I wasn't looking at this, so maybe so let's do that again. Let's do the magic again, but this time I would actually commit this file if I could. I got too many rubbish there in my git, so I would actually stage it and I would commit this so to adding download code. So just commit it. So yeah, now it's committed. So any changes it will be showing like with the git of the add, like git add-in for the atom. So let's do that again. Okay, so let's do the magic again. So this time I'm gonna, yeah. So you can see that this automatically added a line there, and it changes some spacing there. I think I have some extra space or something or here. Um, yeah, it added some spaces there for me. Yeah, this is like very easy to see now because I have all these marker there. And added the line there for me. That's great. And yeah, this one, yeah, it got break up into 3 lines, so it's less than 80 here, I'm sure. And yeah, so it's like magic. And well, I've mixed comment about this. So some people like it, some people don't. But I kind of like it because I don't have to worry about formatting that much. So let's see. So okay. So what about, I don't want you to mess up with this line. I really like it before. So what I can do is like FMT off. So I'll be like, please black, don't touch this. I want it to be in one line no matter what. So what you can do is to switch it off and switch it on again. So afterward it will still be able to configure the other stuff. So let's save it. No, actually, no. Let's make this one line first. Okay. So and then maybe yeah, maybe make some other messes. So let's black do more things for me. So make some messes here. Okay. So I'm a horrible coder. I'm a messy coder. I've, my line spacing is not consistent and all this stuff. Okay. Maybe add some empty spaces at the end here. I don't know why. Maybe copy and pasting the code. Okay. So let's save that and I want black again. So you can see that all my spaces are gone. I think this is not Black's doing. This is my editor. Atom do that for me automatically, but it's fine. So yeah. So you can see that now my line hasn't been broken up because I've turned it off. But for the other stuff, it still do some other stuff for me. And for example, at the beginning, it still added the line there. Yeah. So which is good, I think. And so yeah, use it if you want to. I think it's super popular right now. So if you contribute to a lot of projects, you will probably see Black in action. So so let's go back to presentation. So Another one, this one is I sort. So it's I sort. So it's very interesting. Then when you look at the documentation, it's like I sort it for you, so you don't have to. So what it does is like it's sorting things. But what is this sorting? It's actually sorting your import statement. Because actually there's a standard that you should import. You should sort your import alphabetically, and also maybe separate them in sections if you want to. For example, all these import are for the mathematical thing, so you want to maybe group them together, so you can have options to group them if you want to. Yeah, so it's very simple. You just sort your imports. There's only one job that it does. So okay, again we gotta do some testing of this. Oh, actually they have a git to show it, but I don't know why it's not playing. And oop, my computer is frozen. Oh no, it's not good. Okay, I'll just skip it. Actually, I can show you here at the website. They have it. Yeah. So yeah. I hope you can see that. Yeah. So um, it's very cute. You can see that it's a very messy import here. Yeah, it's a bit fast. It's difficult to see, and after it runs, then you can see it's very nicely sorted. So yeah. Well, we will see if we can demonstrate live, so it's easier to see. Okay. So and so let's just go to our coding and install it and try it out. Let's just jump into it. So again, install would be just install isort. All these are very straightforward. And okay, so let's mess up our code. Okay, so let's mess up our import. So I uh, should I put yeah, let's put this like import. I don't know, import what do I have in my thing actually. I think I have pandas. Do I? No, I don't have. I don't know, import pytest maybe. Well, why do I have click? Oh, because yeah, all these are command line tools, so yeah, it makes sense. Okay, right. So yeah, I gotta maybe import pytest, for example. I'll put it at the top because I want to mess it up. So yeah, so it should sort it alphabetically for me. So let's do that, and I would do a I sort. So let me clear that. Actually, it's quite a bit confusing. I sort, and I should put the name of the file there. And let's see. Oh, actually, yeah, it kind of regrouped it for me. So it's alphabetical order. It moved PyTest down there, and I think it's kind of smart that knowing like math and ARIA standard library, so it puts them in a group, and PyTest is not, so it's like put it separate. So it's quite smart. It also got other configurations that you can set as well. For example, just show you the website here. Yeah, this is the example that they're trying to show in that little GIF there. And yeah, so it sorts very nicely, and the third party, it just like put them together. Yeah, it's very interesting. Okay, so you can also, I think I've seen it yesterday when I was preparing this. They have very interesting options there. Yeah, so it would put thing in groups. So future would be in a group, standard library, and then third party, and then your project and low code and stuff like that. So yeah, what's the configuration that I want to show you? Um, so yeah, you can also change like how it looks like as well. So you can put it in a grid, in a vertical, or like yeah, there's a lot of style you can change. And where's the stuff that I see very cool yesterday? Yeah, this one. And yeah, you can actually um put the stuff here. That first of all, I will show you this one. So I'm highlighting it. So you can put for example, the Django related stuff, you can actually group them in a group. And the pandas related stuff, so NumPy is actually like used together with pandas, so you can put them in a group. So you can put them in sections as well. So to group it however you like, basically. If you don't like the default, so you can change it. And also you can put the heading. So what it does is that, like, for standard library, it will add the comment there for you, and my stuff would be my stuff here. So yeah, so this is quite nice. And yeah, so this is a very simple but nice tool. Oh, but one thing I want to mention, so let's go back to the slides. And yeah, I hope it's not too small for you. I forgot to change back, and it's a pretty white there. Okay, so one thing that I gotta mention is that so sometimes you want to skip the ordering, so stop I start doing things. You may ask, like, why do I want to do that? There's actually one case that I can think of, is that when I was packaging my library, then I was is in the setup.py, and I want to import the version of the project. So I have to have an import in the middle of the code. So if I sort this sorting for me, it will take this import and put it at the top. But when it put at the top, for some reason, the setup.py, when it runs, it would just have an error. So I don't want ISO to touch it. So I have to do the ISO skip here. So let me see if I can show you that file actually, because let me see if I can open it for you. Of course, it's an open source project, so I can show you the code. So it's actually in at my work. So it's determinist Python client that I have. So let's see if I can find it. Yeah, got a lot of projects, so bear with me for a sec. Yeah, the setup.py here, right? So yeah, this is the file that I was talking about. So so you can see that I have import. Oh, sorry, not this one. Sorry. What am I talking about? So, oh no, sorry, it's not this one. Wait a second. No, it's not. It's not the setup.py. Sorry, it's the documentation one. So like I said, the config.py is a little bit different from your normal Python code. So so I don't want to run any formatter on it. I stop Flagate checking it, but I want to stop ISO touching it as well, because here, this line here, importing the version. So so if I don't put this comment ISO skip here, then it will be put at the top. But when it's put at the top, and I will have an error, because it's just because how config.py works. I think I won't dive too deep. It's like you have to really look at how things work. So I think because it kind of get, copy all this stuff, maybe like to run it separately. So I have to put it in this section. So so yeah, I can't put it at the top of this file. So I have to ask ISO to not touch it. So so let's see if we can do that as well here. So for example, I go back to the messy thing that I had before, and I was like, no, please don't touch my PyTest. I don't like it. So you can have isort skip here, and when I run it again this time, so and yeah, it won't touch it. It will just, like, reorder math and RE here. Okay, so this is how isort work. So wow, we are like almost an hour now. So we have two more things to talk about. I hope this and like it won't be too long. Okay. So talks. Let me go to the presentation. Yes. So talks. Actually, what is talks? So in my own word, actually, I didn't copy this time. Is how I think of it. It's like Travis, but it's for testing in various Python environments. So I don't know whether you know about Travis. So Travis is a CI/CD tool. You see them quite appearing quite a lot in GitHub repos. So what Travis will do is that it will create a lot of different virtual environments with different OS, different version of Python and all this stuff to test your code. So so that's why I'm developing in my Mac, but I can also test whether it works in Linux or in Windows and other stuff. So and also I'm using 3.7 to develop my code, so whether it works on 3.6. So also you need Travis to do this. Actually, Travis did catch a bug for me that only appears in 3.6. So when I run locally test on my 3.7, I actually work. So so I overlooked it if not because of Travis. So and Talks is like Travis, but there's one thing that it doesn't do is that it doesn't create different virtual environment with different OS, because because Talks is not for that. If you want to run something like Travis, you need to have a Docker Docker to create different images and containers for you. But what Tox could do is that Tox could create multiple Python environments. So this picture actually shows you that, it for each Tox environment in the gray box there, so it would create a lot of them. It depends on your configuration file. So you can have one, but you can have multiple. And also it could also do the packaging for you if you want to. But what it does, it will create those Python environments, and it will install the dependencies for you each time. So you would need to put in a dependency file for Tox, requirement.txt requirement. Actually, like you have to generate a separate file, a requirement file for Tox. But well, I don't think I gotta dive deeper. But hello D3, hello, and sorry, I forgot whether you tell me my name before. I'm very bad with names. Sorry about that. But hello, I remember I've seen you before. Thank you for joining me again for my program here. Um, and yeah, so it is yeah. So the talks actually would create the environment, and it would install the library separately and run your command. So actually, talks can help you to test with other Python versions. It could help you to test with you can have your PyPy, you can have maybe like 3.6 if you're not using 3.6, and yeah. So I think I won't go into detail here. Like I said, today we cover a lot of different tools. Like we're running out of time, but maybe in the future, if I talk about Python packaging, I can also go back to talks a little bit. So talks is just pip install talks, and yeah, so it's quite straightforward again. So let me go through this in a sec. So yeah, you can have the talks, you can control which version it runs on. Like, for example, you want to test Python 3.6, and also you want to, so this is like where the dependencies come in. So like, you want to, run, maybe you run the test, so you have to install PyTest, so you put the PyTest as the dependency there. And how you're gonna run the test? So it's the command that you put it in. So it's PyTest, but it can be multiple line. It could be other things. It could be like, oh, I have to go into the test directory. So you do the cd, tests or something, and then run your PyTest there because you prefer to. And you can do that. So that's just the commands they put it in. But dependency would be the dependencies you need for running that um, that test environment. So and then when you run it, you just type talks. Okay. So actually, what I gotta do, I won't show you live of what I have, but I can show you the file that I have in my other project. So let me see, and what I could open that, and I should be in that folder, so it's relatively quicker, I hope, but it's still very difficult to spot that the talks in it. Yes, is here. Right. So yeah, this is talks in it that I actually use at work. So actually, there's no secret here, but I copied from another open source project. Um, and so you can see it's more settings there. It could run. So if you just type talks, it will run the check and the test. So what they do is that check would be the linter. So it uses shed. Shed is another. Again, it's like a very new project. It's still in alpha, that's why I don't cover it here. But what it does is like combine all of the things that I talked about before for you. And it runs Flake8 as well. Okay, and the test, it will run the PyTest. So yeah, it will just do the running PyTest for me. Okay, so yeah, so like for the dependencies, so rather than like putting the dependency there, I would just do a run the requirement.txt. So so the requirement.txt actually would be generated by talks as well. And also, like I said before, you can put the Flake8 setting here. So because Flake8 will also look into your talks.init. Also, isort, you can put the isort setting here as well. Like you see before that isort got lots of options, so you can also put it in here. So yeah, this is like kind of like a typical talks init file that you will have when you come into an bump into an open source project. So yeah, so again, I put the link there for the documentation, so you can read into details if you want to. So yeah. Okay, so last thing we gotta cover is pre-commit. So talks like talks and the other linter and formatter, you have to run it, either by typing flake, or like if you pack everything in talks, you just type talks. But it needs the person who do that manually before they commit it, right? Um, so for example, if you're coding late at night and you're like super tired, you're like working overtime because you want to make sure that you have the things to release tomorrow, and then you work, you're super tired, and then, oh, I think it's done, yay! Like it passes all the tests, but you forgot to lint it. Like you just think that it's fine, and like you forgot that, like, because your colleague will be mad at you if you don't lint it, and it's super difficult for people to see you to review your code. So so that's bad because you forgot to run talks and you just push it, and then because so sometimes this happen is that you see my code before that I show you the one talks, it will run the check. So if you forgot to lint it and you just push it to the repo, actually it will fail the Travis test, because Travis will run talks and talks will run the linters, and the linter will flake8 will give you all the errors because you forgot to lint it. And so so for tomorrow when you go back to work and then you can't actually release it, your colleagues say, oh, sorry, you can't release it because the test failed, like the Travis failed, and so that's bad. So one way to avoid it is to set up a pre-commit hook. So what is it? So when you push your code in, I assume that you know what a commit is. You have to commit your changes before you push it to GitHub using Git. So this pre-commit hook actually is a code snippet that actually, so you can think of a hook is like it's a snippet that it will run before you commit your code. Okay, so to set it up using Python is very easy because you can use pre-commits. so so again, install is very straightforward. Just pip install pre-commit, and so you have to set up a .precommit config YAML file here. So yeah, so you just like all the other projects, you just set up a file that actually store all the configurations. So for example, here it stores that I have to get black and get a stable version of black and run black. Okay, and you can also choose the language version because I think there's some limitation on black that it would only run on a certain version of Python. And also flake8, you can also again install this version of flake8 and run the hook. Okay. Um, but after that, so there's one more step that you have to do. Like you create this file, but it doesn't automatically apply to your commit. So you have to do a pre-commit install, and then it would be added to your Git pre-commit hook. So let's have a look at the documentation. It explained in further detail here. So yeah, so actually there's 4 steps that you have to do. It's only 4 steps. That's first of all, install pre-commit. So yeah, just pip in storage, and then like I said, add the configuration there, and after that you have to run pre-commit install. Okay. So actually, it would do this check before you commit your code. So you can't actually commit your code, for example, if your flaggig is failing. So then it's a way to prevent you from pushing a code that's not linted and make everybody angry at you. So um, yeah, uh, this is quite good. I'm thinking about putting it in my project as well, because now it's like I have to keep reminding people to run talks before you push in your code, because I know that my colleagues are very hardworking. They will work in the middle of the night, so sometimes like, oh, all the bugs are fixed, and then it's done, yay, and then forgot to lint it. So I think it's a good idea to set up the pre-commit hook. It is very useful. But the problem is that you can set up all the files and all these things, but the user himself or herself or themselves need to need to do this pre-commit install to set it up. So yeah, because it need to be installed at the Git folder there. So yeah, so it's actually a little bit tricky, but I think it's good practice, and I think yeah, that's what I gotta do next step for incorporate that in my project. So wow, it's like an hour and 5 minutes. So thank you very much for joining me today, and let me go back to my ending slide here. So yeah, next week I think it will be the last episode of the testing month. I think so. Let me check the calendar. Actually, I think next week, yeah, it's the last Sunday of June. So we're gonna have last testing tutorial. It won't be the last for the series. We can come back to revisit all these testing subject, testing topics. But for this month, I think the last thing I'm gonna cover is TDD. So we learn a lot of tools that could be used in testing and linting, and I think next week is good to talk about more conceptual thing and practices. So what is a TDD, and where gonna be useful, and we're gonna try maybe write another example program using TDD. So so yeah, TDD stands for test driven development. So yeah, so it's gonna be that, and yeah, you love TDD. Yes, that's good. So I hope you join us next week about TDD, and we'd love to have you there as well. So yeah, so that's it for this week. And tomorrow, if you haven't heard about it yet, so tomorrow we will have the um, Python data science tutorial. Legend of Data is at 5 p.m. UK time. And Wednesday is we always have Meet Pie. It's a a kind of a chat IRL program, in about Python. So we will have a guest from the States this week. It will be, it will be Jason McDonald, one of the organizer of EuroPython, and also he got a very interesting story to tell as well regarding his journey into tech and Python, and I hope you will be there as well. Lace will be there. She's like yeah, she's she'll be very happy to see you. I'm sure. And yeah, so that's it. And I really thank you so much for joining me today for the tutorial. I hope you had fun learning all these linting and tools, and I hope you start using some of them. And yeah, next week we're gonna do some test driven development. So see you there. Bye.